Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Po, and today I'm here with my recommendations and TBR for my July 2021 monthly priority, which is new releases. So if you're not familiar with my monthly priorities, I'll link a video and playlist about them below, but basically what I'm going to do in July is try to prioritize reading new releases. And by new releases, I mean anything published in 2020 or 2021 with kind of a little bit of an emphasis on 2021. So I'm going to talk today about a couple of recommendations of new releases that I've read that I would recommend to you, and then talk about my TBR. So first, my recommendations, beginning with When a Tiger Came Down the Mountain by Nghi, which was published December 2020. This is the second book in the Singing Hills cycle, sort of a companion novel to the first book, The Empress of Salt and Fortune. When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain is really a story within the story. It is about some people who get trapped in a snow lodge and some tiger women who come and want to eat them, but they put off the tiger women by telling them stories. I really loved this. I loved the fantasy world building. I loved this storytelling aspect of it. It was really funny. I just had such a great time with this. So I definitely recommend it, and I do have a review of it, so I will link that below. Next, I'd like to recommend The Year I Flew Away by Marie Arnold, which was published February 2021. This is such an excellent middle grade contemporary fantasy. So it is about a young girl who moves from Haiti to New York City to stay with her aunt and uncle in order to kind of pursue education and more opportunities there. But it's a very rough transition, and she doesn't fit in, and there's a witch who offers to help her. This is filled with so much magic and so much discussion about immigration and fitting in and assimilation. It is so great. I do have a standalone review for this one as well, so I will link that below. And lastly, I'd like to recommend Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is a contemporary romance that is the third in the Brown Sisters trilogy, although romance trilogies are sort of companion novels, so you can read them in pretty much any order. This is about Eve, who is kind of not really sure what she wants to do in her life. She keeps trying things and they don't quite work out, and her parents say finally, hey, you can't just rely on your trust fund. You've got to go and make something with your life, so we're cutting you off until you find a job and keep it for a year. So she's a little freaked out, and she goes and she applies to be a chef at a little B&B and ends up working there after some mishaps and deals with the owner, Jacob, who is very much strict by the books, doesn't have that kind of free spirit that she does. And so it's a little bit of opposites attract type of story. This was so sweet. It is really filled with so much humor and a lot of steamy scenes, and a lot also of discussion of bigger issues like autism that Jacob deals with, and just Eve trying to find her way in life. I loved this book so much. Definitely recommend it, and I do have a standalone review for it, so I will link that below. Now moving on to my TBR for July. I have put only books from 2021 on this official TBR, but I also have a lot of other books, especially from 2020, that I'm going to try to get to in July if I have the time. My TBR is more like my priority list, the things I want to really try to get to, although I probably won't get to all of these. I'll read tons of other things as well, tons of things that aren't even part of my priority. But let's go ahead and start with The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. This was published in June of 2021, and it is one of my most anticipated reads of the year. I absolutely loved Tasha Suri's previous series, the Ambha duology, which was The Empire of Sand and The Realm of Ash. Really loved these. I do have a series review for those, so I'll link that below. And I'm just so looking forward to this new start of an epic fantasy trilogy based on Indian history and epics that is queer and a love story, but also really talks about empire and issues with that, follows a princess and her maidservant who have to kind of work together. I'm just so excited about this, and I strongly suspect I will love it. Next on my list is A Desolation Called Peace by Arkady Martine, which was published in March of 2021. This is another really highly anticipated new release for me. This is the sequel to A Memory Called Empire, which I really loved, and I've heard great things about A Desolation Called Peace. It is following, in a space empire, an ambassador, Mahit, who has to try to help communicate with a new alien group that nobody can understand. I love sci-fi that is about communication and about cultural differences and language, and I'm so excited about this one. Next is Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon, which was published in May 2021. I love Rivers Solomon's other works. An Unkindness of Ghost and The Deep are just fantastic. So I have been very much looking forward to this one, although I'm a little intimidated because I think there's some body horror, but I've heard such strong reviews for it that I still want to get to it. So this is the story of a teenage girl who has to escape a religious compound that she has been raised in, and she goes to the woods. She's pregnant, she gives birth to twins, and she has to kind of survive with them in the woods that is kind of haunted, and also something weird is happening to her body. It sounds really creepy, but also Rivers Solomon always has such good themes and such interesting world building that I think this is going to be really fascinating. Next is Immunity Index by Sue Burke, which was published May 2021. This is probably not the book for everybody right now because it is about a pandemic, about a couple of women who have to try to solve a virus outbreak. But I have read Semiosis by Sue Burke before, and I loved that book so much. So even though the topic of this one is maybe a little too timely, I just really trust that Sue Burke is going to write a fantastic story, so I want to pick this up. Next is Never Have I Ever by Isabel Yap, which was published February 2021. This is an SFF short story collection that I have heard amazing things about from Rachel at Kalanadi, who I will link below, and I am such a huge fan of short story collections, so if Rachel says this is good, I definitely want to pick this one up. Next is Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Bouley, which was published March 2021. I've heard such amazing things about this. Melitta at the Midnight Librarian did a great review of it, so I will link this below. I think that this sounds so great. It is a YA contemporary mystery thriller about an Ojibwe teenager who witnesses a murder and has to kind of root out corruption in her community. The themes in this sound excellent, and just the reviews have been really good. And lastly is Angel of Greenwood by Randy Park, which was published January 2021. I believe I heard about this from Ashley at the Bookish Realm, who I will link below. And this is a YA historical fiction set in Tulsa in 1921, where there was a huge massacre where a bunch of white people banded together to destroy the area of Greenwood, which was known as like Black Wall Street, because they weren't happy with the success of Black people who lived there. So this is like a really important historical period, and I love historical fiction that tackles very fascinating, important historical eras. So this sounds like it's going to be really good, and it follows two teenage kids who are sort of in that Greenwood area and dealing with what is happening. Okay, so those are my recommendations and my TBR for July for new releases. If you guys have read any of these books, or if you're interested in reading them, or if you have any thoughts, or if you have any recommendations for me for other new releases that you think I would really like and should pick up, go ahead and leave me a comment down below.